now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation. The place where stars and minds align.
Peace, you're now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humble host, Rahu, and we got good brother Rahu. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, brother. Doing all right. How about yourself, King?
Doing pretty good, in the midst of this whole corona situation, faring all right, we was talking earlier. I think the Rona might have got me last week or something.
Yeah, I think it's more trying to hang out with your brother too, man. So we all right, got a pretty strong immune system. My person usually doesn't befall to things, but something definitely in the air, folks. So definitely strap up and buckle up and keep yourself healthy.
Indeed, man. You don't want to. Yeah, don't play no games with it, man. Make sure you're taking your vitamin C and all that good stuff, man. All them good supplements out there, man, to help, fight that thing off, man. Because it can happen to the best of us, man. But yeah, before I go any further, I want to remind you all that this podcast is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Capricorn Astrology. You can find Push It Forward Media Group at Push It Forward. PUSHITFWD on Instagram. You can hit us up on the web as well at pushitforward.com, spelled just like the Instagram. There we got, short films, we got interviews, we got a whole bunch of different things that, including this podcast that, Push It Forward Media Group is covering, right? We also got Ninth Floor Films. So go check us out. Brother Rob, tell them how to get in touch with you and about Capricorn Astrology.
Oh yeah, just same three platforms we've been rolling with. It's you can hit me up on Facebook at Shechem Ra. You can hit me up on IG at the same tag Shechem Ra, or you can hit me up at capricornastrology@gmail.com.
Indeed. So yeah, man, we here at episode 2, season 2. Episode 1 did good, man. It did pretty good, man. People been hitting me up all over the place, man. We got some new listeners, man. I can definitely see the foundation from season 1 kind of showing itself right now. What about you, brother? Right?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I've gotten some good feedback. Positive feedback from a lot of different people as well. So I appreciate that, y'all. Keep up the comments and letting us know that we're doing a good job. So I'd say that season 2 is just going to be, next level where we get deeper into it. And you can always go back to season 1 and, follow from there and really kind of catch up, binge listen, as they say.
Yeah.
And, kind of come full speed ahead, but this season's definitely going to be something to be reckoned with.
Absolutely, it kind of, I've been getting a lot of like, man, y'all said last season that next year, things gonna get interesting and stuff like that, and boom, here it is, and like I keep telling people, it's not. It takes study, takes definitely some skill, some talent in there, but really, honestly, it's just God's language, and we're just reading God's language, what God has to say, is out there, Yeah, and another thing, those shows are timeless, they don't get old. The information will always be valid. So, we're moving along. We got episode numbers, but go back, listen to it. Trust me, it'll definitely tighten you up. It's just your astrological knowledge, and if you're trying to be an astrologer yourself, it'll definitely tighten you up. Because I think, even if you search, YouTube and stuff like that, when you start going into astrological ages, I mean, we kind of got a niche on that. It's not a lot of astrologers that touch that often. At least not even in the Vedic space. You know, what about you, brother? Why you experience that same thing?
Yeah, I do get a lot of people that kind of make brief mentions of it, but they don't go into really a deep understanding of how to really. They don't really unpack it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like they don't really really show what it is that we're looking at, how to kind of bring it down to earth, if you will. It becomes very right-brained, if you will, which is good. But, we need both sides of the brain to kind of understand the thing. So, you can give me all these adjectives and kind of things that describe it, but how does it apply to today? Like we're experiencing today, man, because of his excesses and greeds, his imbalances, that obviously we're still in the Jupiter period. We're still learning those lessons. We're experiencing some of those, the fallout from those lessons when you don't learn it. And so things that go beyond, natural order, right, is what a Jupiter negative aspect of Jupiter can be in many regards. Not to say that it was created either in a laboratory, and we're talking about coronavirus again, not to say it was created in a laboratory or it came from a bat or some other animal that was being eaten. Who knows, right? But either way, right, some violation of natural law has occurred, right? And so we're now subject to learning those lessons, but we're still in the time and space and energy of that Piscean era. And so hopefully, we will learn very valuable lessons through the kind of transformations that we go through, which, the Piscean era is going to show, when you're not conscientious of things that are around you and not using things for its intent and purpose for, understanding form and function, then you're going to always reap some consequence. And, there's always something on the other side to teach you that lesson.
Indeed. So, before we jump all the way in, I did want to, mention a couple things. I know last show, told you all that, we were going to get a Patreon ruling, get a Patreon going, and, we got that all set up now. So now, it's an opportunity for you all to, be a part of the show in a major way or whatnot. So, we got 4 tiers, reasonably priced. And, I'm not going to go down the whole, jig right now. Maybe at the end of the show, I touch on each tier a little bit. But, I think that, it's a good bang for your buck, and if you guys, like this show, like what we're doing, we'll definitely appreciate you guys, showing us some love on Patreon and, really helping us take it to the next level. You know what I mean? What do you think, Brother Rob?
Oh, man, that's an excellent way to try to take the platform higher, and folks, it's all about y'all. Without y'all, we wouldn't be here, right? The listeners are really the fundamental reason why we're doing this. So by all means, at whatever level you can, participate. And if you can't participate, just spread the word, get it to other people, get it out there so that people can really kind of become abreast of how the universe works in our everyday lives. Absolutely.
So maybe at the end of the show, I'll get some more details. I'll put some more details out about the Patreon. But enough of all this talking. Let's get into today's show. So this is, this is like a part 2, of what we ended season 1 with. And, at the end of season 1, we dropped those 3 episodes, classic episodes, during the winter solstice, which was also a major eclipse that occurred in the world at that time. And, we gave some insights of what type of things will happen, but we also told you that things will be happening to come. And that's what we're going to break down in this show. And we're seeing those effects right now. You know, so I know everybody been itching for us to talk about, you know, the coronavirus and where's the country going, the recession. That's another show we had. We did that back in September. You know, we I mean, we were pretty on point. You know what I'm saying? Simply looking at the charts, United States charts, other, you know, major charts in the world, and taking it from there. So you know, as far as post eclipse, what I'm gonna let you go ahead and just kind of, you know, go in from your perspective, kind of where you want to start, you know, with this show, because there's a lot of different things that's going on. So you can go ahead and, you know, take it over, Brother Ron, and you know, where you exactly want to start as far as, you know, post eclipse. What's the major players and the stars that's kind of giving us what we see right now?
Well, you know, when we read the heavens, we really kind of look at it from an overall perspective, and we can see certain things that are key underliers, but you know, it's almost like a formula, you know, a mathematical formula, and really that is what it is. It's just qualitative knowledge versus quantitative, right?
Yeah.
But qualitative is still just as relative as quantitative, and it is quantitative as well when you understand timing. But to understand the general milieu or atmosphere, what's going on, we have to look at everything. But the first thing you always want to understand is that the nodes are key players in anything that's strange or odd or sudden, right, or unexpected. And so when you look at and understand, for example, when we had the eclipse produced something that is going to kind of manifest itself over a given period of time. And the eclipse itself, number one, impacted America in a very specific way because it occurred in America's ascendant. Now, I know a lot of people out there kind of contested the fact that America's ascendant is Sagittarius. But folks, look, I'm going to show you in just a minute here how to look at this to understand that this is America's ascendant.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Brother, what's some of the other ascendants that they throw out there?
The main one that I hear the most is Gemini.
I've heard, yeah.
And, the one that would probably be close runner-up would be Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
And so
your guy in that, what's the name of that book? Yeah, I think he has U.S. as a Virgo ascendant.
Yeah, I think I've seen that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely Sagittarius, folks, without a doubt. And I've tested it, I've looked at it, I've looked at the other ascendants that I've gotten wind of so far, and they just don't work. So with it being Sag ascendant, it really shows how planets are working in regards to, because remember, the United States of America is considered still to this day, I'm going to say the best country, but it is the country where everyone primarily is still trying to move to for the purposes of living the American dream.
Yeah.
And so understanding that, because it kind of sets the standard, right, if you will. And it's waning as we speak, but still in all, right? From Hollywood to even technical industry. I mean, of course, Asia and different countries have caught up and surpassed us in many different ways as a country. But at the same time, United States of America still is a major player, especially militarily speaking.
Yeah.
So, and when you understand, when I say militarily speaking, Sagittarius is a militant sign, right? So getting back to understanding what happens with this eclipse here, with these eclipses, so it happened in the ascendant of America. And so when something like that happens, And in fact, to kind of go backtrack a little, I did mention 6 months prior, and a prior eclipse that happened in June, noting that something with Iran would happen within the context of the eclipses. Well, Soleimani was murdered or killed, right? Whatever you want to call it. Murdered,
yeah.
Right. Shortly after the most recent eclipse, right? And so the eclipse, what it does, especially when you understand that it causes an eclipse of your will, right? The will of the people, the will of the country, the will of the government, right? Something happens suddenly, right? That is out of your control, that you react or act in a way that is almost as if you're acting headless, right? Or without regard, without understanding, right? Without comprehension, right? That's what an eclipse will do. And so it happened in the first house, which is also the head, which is also the primary base of any chart, the base of the country, right? So the extension from that is that reactionary. Now we take out Soleimani, right? And so understanding that this is a domino effect that happens shortly after that, right? When Rahu, as it moves, right, and Ketu as they move, right, they still have to impact and move through these what we call nakshatras, right? They have to still have their effect. Now, in the sign of Gemini, right, Rahu is empowered, right? And Rahu represents certain things. It represents things that are that spread, right? It says in the text that Rahu expands. He doesn't expand, right? Jupiter expands. Rahu spreads, right?
Yeah.
And so what kind of things spread, bro? What type of things spread? What happens when things spread?
Disease. You know, what else is a spreader?
How about this? Rumors.
Oh yeah, rumors. Yeah.
Rumors spread very quickly, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Fears and phobias spread. Right. Anything that, of course, viruses, right? Diseases, as you mentioned. Right? Inflation, right? Spreads, right? Because in astrology, you understand anything that spreads, it bubbles, right? And then it pops, and then it equalizes, right? That's the difference between Rahu. That's why he gives you what you want and then takes it what? Away.
Yep.
Saturn doesn't deny you. He just what? He makes you
you gotta
work
earn
it. Right. So do you understand the hidden essence behind Rahu, right? Is that it pops, right? It spreads, right? It's infectious, right? Emotions can be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So understanding this in regards to when Rahu is in Gemini, Gemini also represents which part of the body within, we're talking about Kala Purusha or the cosmic man. Which part of the body is Gemini?
Gemini's lungs, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So now you have the nature of why this disease would attack this part of the body, right? And remember, when this trigger, right, releases certain things, right, the trigger opens the portal for something to come from one realm to another. From an invisible realm to a what? Visible realm.
Yeah.
Right? So this is what Rahu does. Right? He literally takes you from this side of reality and brings you to another side of reality. That's why when the eclipse happens, in the natural world, things go to sleep, right? The animals act like it's night.
Yeah.
Right? They go into another reality. And then when that reality then is removed, it's go back to the reality in which you were placed. That's why Rahu gives you what you want, and then he what? Takes you back to reality.
Yeah.
So he also gives you things that you what? Don't want. But it also fades. Right? Now this thing happens every 100 years, folks. It's nothing new. Right? This is something that process that happens throughout nature, right? Especially in large populations. So, understanding this further, when we get into understanding the axis point, and when Rahu hits the first house, or he's in the first house, he's going to reflect and hit the seventh house. And there's 4 planets in the seventh house of America's chart: Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and the Sun. So this Rahu actually is moving over these planets simultaneously, and Ketu is moving over the ascendant. Now, what happened exactly 19 years ago, almost to date?
September 11th.
Right, well, not almost to date, excuse me, folks. No, I'm thinking of another event. September 11th, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, just watch and see, folks, how this unfolds. So, 19 years ago, we had a major event that shifted reality. Ketu was in the ascendant, and Rahu was in the seventh house. Right? Now, it's affected the world. This thing that we're talking about is affected the world. We're going to talk about how that manifests as well through the heavens. But nonetheless, right, we're talking about here in America, right? We haven't even hit the peak yet.
Yeah. Of
this thing. Now I'll tell you when things are going to get a little rough, folks. And I mean, it's very soon, right? It's obvious. If you have eyes, you can see, and ears, you can hear. You know this thing's about to pop, right? And the southern node Ketu will be over America's ascendant right around from April 8th to April 10th. This is very close, very, very close. We're going to be probably the number one epicenter for this whole thing because of the nature of the country and the size of the country. See, the country itself is fairly large. Yes, people say, oh, well, what about Africa, brother? Yeah, Africa is a very large nation. I mean, very large continent with many nations. But one nation itself still is fairly relative to the size of America.
Yeah.
So understanding that America is a fairly large nation. And so not only that, having and being a center for world world commerce and world transactions also is another systemic kind of thing that's being played out with this Rahu Ketu axis in the first and seventh house of America. So understanding that Jupiter rules America, Jupiter's a large planet, so the country would therefore what? Be large.
Yeah.
Okay. And America has expanded itself, not spread itself, right? Expanded itself over the whole known world. Right?
Yeah.
This is just Jupiter stuff, Sag stuff, right? So you understand and match it. It's not really hard to figure out. People say, what about Gemini? No, Gemini don't fit because Gemini doesn't do it by war, conquest. Sag does.
Yeah, and it's like the United States has like almost like it's war, but it's like war in their mind, or in this country's mind. It's like a philosophical disposition type of war, like they want to impose an ideology on you.
Big brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Sag thing,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna help you because I can help because it's a preacher thing, right? I mean, The country, they say it wasn't founded on religious context, but it's written into the Constitution itself.
Yeah.
So whether you say it's founded or not, it's still written into the whole ideology of the country's purview. But nonetheless, talking about this whole April 8th, 9th, and 10th piece, right? That's when this thing is going to start to really bubble up. And just like a pimple, I know many of us have had them, right? In teenage years. You know, you first get a pimple, right? It don't pop first off, right? It swells. It has to swell up to the point where it's going to now have the infection quarantined within that little pocket. And then, right, the body will then naturally produce something to expel it.
Yeah.
That is what we're going to see starting April 8th, 9th, and 10th. I don't know, right? Quite when it would be, but I would say this, folks. If we not, and I'm talking, I don't mean to be grotesque, but I have to be graphic enough for you to understand what it is and how to look at something. Because this is a right brain exercise using a left brain terminology, right? So, what planet do you think would be the planet that would cause the pop if you had to pick a planet of all the planets?
That will cause the pop?
Yeah, to cause that nice pop.
Mars.
Yes, sir. So what happens is, right, the self-containment thing, like it'll come up to a point where it'll be contained, and the heat of the summer, right, will kind of quell this thing down, right? It'll be kind of where, it'll be isolated in certain areas. It's like the zit, right? But when the heat then at that point has isolated, or at least reduces it, or at least concentrates it, right? Because that's what you do, right? That's what heat does, right? It reduces something to its essence, right? When Rahu now moves into America's chart further, going to in the next into the next sign, Mars is at 0 degrees Gemini, right? So when Mars moves into that particular placement, right around September 23rd, that's when it's going to pop, right? And America will then have Rahu in the 6th house and Ketu in the 7th. When the hospitals, if you think they're overwhelmed now, well, just wait till flu season regenerates, because anything
Ketu in the 12th.
I'm sorry, yes, Ketu in the 12th. If I said anything else, folks, I apologize. Rahu in the 6th, Ketu in the 12th, right? So Ketu in the 12th house is hospitals, right?
Yeah.
Wards, right? Mental wards, asylums, right? Any place where you need to go get healed. But the 6th house itself is disease, right? Imbalances, right? So when Rahu's there, now when Rahu moves right over Mars at 0 degrees Gemini, and he moves into the 6th house at towards the 29 degrees Gemini, right? That's when the pop, that's when the next flu season will regenerate, and now we'll have another set of this to deal with. Once that has processed through, then this will be done.
Yeah.
The summertime will quell it, folks, right? But it won't stop it. It will regenerate. So, recombinate, right? And then, because that's what viruses do. That's why they become more difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
The nature of anything that is at a microscopic level does that, because it can change it quickly. Go ahead.
Indeed. So I mean that's a jewel for everybody listening. So you don't want to sleep on that, because we may get some relief, and the summertime may be able to come out again and this, but you better be stacking. You better be stacking and being conservative and frugal and prepping, because it's chance that it could get like that and maybe a little bit worse than what we saw right now.
Indeed.
So don't sleep on that.
Yeah, this is just the onset of something. You know, when you have an illness, the onset is not the full scope of what it is that you're dealing with. And so they've made a lot of assumptions about this thing. Now, let's talk about it. Rahu, right, spreads. What type of sign is Gemini?
Air.
So this thing is airborne, folks. You can wash your hands, which you should do anyway, right? Several times a day. You should be washing your clothes, right? But make sure you wash your clothes when you come in your home. Take your clothes off, right? Wherever it is that you have your washer or dryer, preferably you don't pass it or walk through the house. If you have the ability to go to some place that's separate, do that. Unclothe, get your towel, head to the shower, and wash yourself. Ladies, cover your hair. Fellas, right? If you can, wear a hat. If not, it's easier for us to kind of manage and wash our hair. If you have long hair, cover it. Because this thing is airborne. It's beyond touch. There's nothing that can spread through touch that fast.
Yeah.
And understanding the nature of this thing, pretty much everyone has it already. To keep it real, folks. Just your immune system maybe be able to sustain you to a point where it's not going to affect you, but primarily, most people are going to contact it, if not now, especially next season, when flu season, I mean. Because that's when that sharp sha, what we call sha qi in Chinese medicine, comes. And that sha qi is sharp. That's when that metal energy comes, right, in the fall. Right. So you really want to tighten up now, because if you think it's going to affect your lungs now, if you think it's doing something now, when it comes in, yeah, it's going to be completely different. So, because seasons in Chinese medicine also, this is lung qi season, this is spring, this is wood qi, right? So it is going to actually help in some regards to process this through the liver system, and then when the heat comes in the summer, it would also help as well, and we'll be able to hopefully burn it off.
Well, it's a metal year.
It is a metal year. You're absolutely right.
You know,
absolutely. So that's always automatically going to have an effect, and then that rat energy, you know, seems like almost a multiplier, if you will.
Well, I mean, I've been doing some, you know, research and stuff like that. We don't talk about, you know, 4 pillars astrology, Basel in here, but it's also a system that I definitely dwell in. But I've seen epidemics in these rat combination like periods.
I'm telling you,
throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
infestation. I mean, that's that water energy, and so that's a trip.
Yeah, indeed. And one thing, you know, you made the statement that you know, a lot of people may already have it. You know, I don't want people to get scared.
No,
you know,
not at all.
Don't pay attention to the news, because that's not the concern. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Whether you get it or not, it's more so about your ability to fight it off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is really what it is. You know,
most of us have that ability already.
Mm-hmm. Even the flu, a lot of us get in contact with the flu every year. We just don't. It just doesn't. It just may not manifest like that.
It doesn't make the news. That's all. There's many of flu influenza strains that happen, folks. It's just the nature of this has the onset has been just a little bit different in that it's why it's airborne. I mean, think about it. It would, if you could wash it down and wash it away, you could easily isolate this thing, because then you could put people literally in a quarantine and it would not move beyond that point. But when it becomes airborne, and even it becomes an aerosol, when it attaches to dust particles, because dust particles are always present in the air. And this thing, because viruses have a fat molecule that attaches to things, especially this one, it becomes very difficult to manage because it is airborne. So it's not the fear factor we want you to harbor. or host. We want you to be optimistic and think about levels of impact as far as your home, your health, and your environment. So moving beyond this, though, there's other things that are happening simultaneously. And this trigger has kind of been the spill point where we're kind of just noticing these other things. But Saturn also has an impact here. Now, this is beyond the eclipse, folks. This is talking about mundane astrology. And so we're still talking about the aftermath of an event, but the fallout is always dictated by the health of the heavens at that time, and especially the health of the chart with regards to the country and nation that you reside in. Also, for most Americans, right, Saturn is moving into the second house of the nation's chart. So this is all happening simultaneous.
Yeah.
Right. Saturn moving right in, right, does a couple of things when it does that. Any planet that moves from one sign to another, which is called an ingress, has a major impact on world affairs, even personal affairs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're cognizant and paying attention, then you will notice certain things in your personal life that will denote that switch or change in some regard. Now, the outer planets have more slower, more subtle, more residual-like influence on the personal chart or person's just normal everyday life. But on a country's chart or on a nation's chart or corporation's chart, something that has existed beyond, let's say, 100 years, then that thing is going to literally experience certain things, right? I'm sorry, and when I'm talking about Saturn itself moving into that chart, it's impinging right on Pluto, right? It's literally moving right over Pluto, and that Pluto, because it's been there for, right, since July 1776, according to the chart, right? That every time that impingement happens, right, there's a switch or a change. Now, this is the second house of resources, of your bankroll, right, of what you put away for a rainy day, of your values. When Saturn moves through this and he's made that trigger, he's kind of hit over that point where Pluto sits, that whole atmosphere as far as money is concerned is going to be changed, right, for that nation. So yes, folks, we're in for a rough ride for the next few years. This is not the recession. This is the beginning of it. Next year, you will, this is the tip of the iceberg. Save your money, folks. Spend wisely. Because this is a reset of the system. Now, moving in further into what's going on, Pluto simultaneously is moved into Capricorn at the same time Saturn has. So they're conjunct in the heavens, and they're simultaneously conjunct natal Pluto. In fact, America is going through its first Pluto return. So this is big stuff, folks. This is big shifts, right? Things are not going to be the same anymore after this. Right? When I say the value system of a nation is changed, when your value system is changed, your whole perception on life is changed. So we're going to definitely, right, see some new things coming. Don't be surprised if work at home is going to be the new thing that people are going to do from now on. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, because people are finding that, in a lot of industries, people are able to essentially carry business as usual. Nothing has really changed outside of the fact that they're not sitting in the actual office. Exactly. And, so that's put that, that's been a reality, but now this has brought it into the forefront. So, a lot of companies, governmental agencies, and different things like that, they're not going to want to get hit like they got hit this time again. Right. So, certain, they're going to be investing more into that. I know there's a company called WebEx that's like, very popular for, remote, meetings and stuff like that. Their stock was going up.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure Charmin's is too.
Oh yeah, Charmin. Or Procter and Gamble.
You're right. Procter and Gamble's getting paid.
Getting super paid.
Right. So,
log me in. That's go-to meeting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, anything internet right now is hot, right? Because that's all you got, right?
Even the grocery stores.
Oh, yeah.
I've been ordering all my stuff. I mean, like soon as I saw it was about to tip, I put in like a massive order.
Oh, yeah. Drones,
rentals,
folks. Drones,
rentals, all that stuff. Dropping
that's
it off.
coming. Yeah, drones, right? Alleviate the whole touching process. Right. So don't be surprised Amazon start dropping. You start seeing some little thing drop something off at your door and be gone. That's coming very soon. Right. So I'm just saying the way of life is going to change very soon. The value system, right? Because of, remember, Rahu produces fears. This is all happening simultaneously. Right. So this extension of fear from this virulent thing that has taken place. Right. And remember, Rahu is like a serpent. So anything that deals with Rahu kind of is like serpent-like. So if you get bit by a serpent, it can affect different systems in your body. One of the ways venom affects you is your respiratory system.
Yeah.
Right. So, right, we've been bitten, right? But the antidote is always within the body itself. And your body will produce antibodies that will literally fight this off, provided that you are in fairly good health. Right.
Yeah.
If you're not, folks, obviously seek medical attention as soon as you need. Right. And of course, hopefully that your area is being able to be supported by whatever means as far as the hospitals are concerned, and my heart. Right. And, my visualizations go out to anyone that has to deal in the health industry at this time.
Indeed.
But for all intents and purposes, folks, this is going to be a very different world we're going to live in. Pluto will leave. Now, Pluto has just moved into Capricorn. People say, well, what does that mean, Raw? Like, what does that kind of break that down real general? Okay, Capricorn is like anything that is structured, right? Because Saturn is ruling it, and simultaneously it's an earth sign. So breaking it down to its fundamentals, and that's what I teach in my fundamentals classes, understanding it from a fundamental level, and then expanding it and understanding how it looks from the inside out. So Saturn itself is the planet that deals with things that are dealt with over time, right? And Capricorn is a sign of Earth, which deals with things that are tangible, physical, right, or material, right? So, right, when you have that Saturn and Earth combination, right, and it's a cardinal sign, meaning it's progressing and moving in a direction. These three symbiotic kind of things, when Saturn's in its own sign and it's in the second house, the whole value system is now going to be tested, and not only tested, but put under scrutiny to the point where it either will literally reorganize or break.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when this happens, simultaneously, you have to say, okay, well then, are there any influences that are happening with that particular planet? As we stated, yes, there is, right? Pluto there, right? Pluto stays in a sign. It will be in this sign for till 2039, excuse me. I believe March 2039. Right?
21 years, right?
Not quite, because, well, Pluto takes 248 years to make a transit, so on average it's 20.6 years, right, for each sign. So we round that up to 21, but Pluto has a very erratic pattern. So it can be sometimes 19 years, sometimes 20, sometimes 18. It just depends. It's erratic, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes 17. Pluto is just like the sign kind of deems the sign that it rules in astrology, in a sense, kind of rules Scorpio in a sense, kind of, right? Kind of, right? Scorpio is the most rebellious sign, folks.
Yeah.
The most. More than Aquarius. They're about second, right? It's about second, right? Scorpio is the most rebellious. So the planet that would be proximity, but be, considered semi-ruling, I would say, not technically. Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, but to affiliate it with a sign, you could say it goes to Scorpio, but that energy that creates mob mentality, mob rule, right? That's what Pluto does. And so it reorganizes and shifts things from the inside out. Right. And so literally that's what we're going to experience for the next almost 20 years, that the value system is going to be reorganized. Now Saturn entering there simultaneously, that definitely adds to the level of pressure that we're going to experience, financially speaking, within the next 2 to 3 years. Saturn will move out. It will move into Aquarius. But at that time, there's a whole nother configuration that will happen that will also be challenging to some degree. But there's good news, folks. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Right? Rahu will be moving into Taurus as of September of 2029. I know I mentioned that's the kind of trigger point where Mars will be there and this thing will kind of release itself. But the good news is that Rahu will be in a sign that is very stable.
Yeah.
Right, so being stabilized by the Taurian energy. Now, I'm not going to get into. Some folks are going to say, "Well, is Rahu exalted in Taurus?" There is no exaltation or debilitation for Rahu or Ketu because they're not planets.
Yeah,
right. They're nodal points. They're karmic inlet and outlet points. They don't have exaltations and debilitations. Sorry. They do have stabilizations and destabilizations, but destabilizations are good sometimes because you need sometimes for life to be unstable. Right? So, Rahu and Ketu don't work like planets. They're different. So, it's going to be in a sign that stabilizes it, right? It's going to be in a sign that literally the Lord of Taurus is the ruler of the demons. And Rahu is a demon. So Venus can quell Rahu, right? Venus can soothe the virulent nature of Rahu, right? In the story of Rahu, and we'll get into that in a deeper sense in one of the shows coming up on Rahu and Ketu we're going to have for you folks. It gets real deep into Rahu and Ketu. But Rahu, the demons are easily tempted by a very beautiful woman by the name of Mohini. And Mohini is a disguise for the demons to, right, be swayed from taking the nectar of immortality, right? And this is how Rahu is literally born. But in that story, we're not going to get deep into the story, but in that story, right, the demons are taken by beauty, right? And so Rahu is the one that's not taken by the beauty. But Venus still is the master of those demons. And so literally, right, what they say, music soothes the savage beast. Right?
Yeah.
So Venus is that literally quelling or the calming or that soothing of that energy. So it will literally go away, folks. It will. Rahu will move into this sign for the next 19 months after September 23rd. So this will be calmed and it will literally dissipate. It'll go back into the background like the other things have, but it's the way that it's spread is the real thing that's going on here. But it will quiet down. But this will be a catalyst for things to change worldwide. Now, remember Capricorn is, things that are structured, right? It's the state, right? Government, big business, right? Corporations, right? Most money in the world, folks, is tied up into stocks and bonds, right? Not cash, not paper money. So this is the money we're talking about. This is the infrastructure that we're talking about that's going to be reshifted. It's going to change. they actually just recently digitized the US dollar. Most folks don't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, with that being said, I think it's really important, for everybody to look at where you get your money from today and think about it and think, can this job be replaced by something other than me? Can my job be endangered by a pandemic? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, you got a taste of it right now, that if something was to come and shut down the economy, you got a taste of how, and there's no such thing as financial security in a true sense. There's always, you can put yourself in a better position, but there's always something out there that can, displace something. But, it'll be real wise to look at your situation and see how resilient, where you get your bread from, will it be in the event of something like this happening again, or something similar,
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to get into the personal aspects of what I do, but just know that my industry, even doing readings, I mean, things are coming to a screeching halt, right? A standstill, if you will. And so, Saturn has more movement in this, folks. There's more going on here. Saturn still has to cross the southern node of the US's chart, right? That has yet to happen. It has to move through this second house configuration, which is going to test the people that are in this country's pocket. Saturn tests you. Now, once Saturn's done, you're much stronger, much wiser. People say, well, Jupiter helps too, right? Jupiter's wisdom in sense of erudite knowledge, right? But Saturn is the guru of real experiential knowledge. And so Saturn is teaching us very serious experiential lessons, right? Practical lessons. Can you handle the responsibility of life itself?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely you want to check where you get your money from, and then check not only where you get your money from, but check how you use your money.
Oh yeah.
Check how you use your money, right? Because Saturn not only is in the second house of America, but it's simultaneously aspecting America's 11th house from the 10th house gaze that it produces in astrology. So it's literally looking at the 11th house, and it's slowing the income down as well, that's what the 11th house is your income. Second house is your bankroll, your savings, and the 11th house is the money you bring in. So both of them simultaneously are being brought under pressure. This is just the weather report, folks. The weather changes, but this is the weather. So you put your raincoat on, right? Get your umbrella, put your galoshes or whatever you put on, right? And prepare to get a little wet, because that's what's coming. If not, it's kind of already here. But the good news also is that Jupiter still does provide the salve of some sense of hope or optimism, even though it will be debilitated for the next, let's say, almost year. But it does give, Jupiter is Jupiter. It doesn't matter, even if it's debilitated, it may not be able to produce the ultimate results, but it at least is trying to produce some assuaging of this whole debacle.
Well, with Saturn there, that kind of, helps out that debilitation a bit, right?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. It's because it's
you
not
would think,
conjunct.
yeah, you have to understand the nature of the planets themselves. Mm-hmm. And then the Nietzsche Bang Raja Yoga kind of rule has to be used as a slide rule.
Yeah.
Right. Mars there will help the niche bond.
Yeah.
Right. That will help. Mars will be there for the next 2 months, folks, which is at least enough for us to get through, to kind of to give you enough courage and motive power through, let's say the next couple of months to try to stave this off. Right. But it does provide some of the niche bond when Jupiter enters there. Right. And it will be entering there very, very soon, within the next few days. Right.
Yeah.
In fact, probably the next day or so. So, Jupiter moving in there, right? Mars there, it does what? And people say, what does that work? How does that work, right? Like my boy, I can't remember the brother's name on there on Facebook. So how does it work? Nietzsche bond, right? So Saturn will not cancel the Nietzsche bond, right? The relationship between Jupiter and Saturn are neutral, first of all. So they're neutral, even though Saturn does debilitate him through his sign. In the sense of their relationship to one another, they don't do anything to assuage harm or dissipate one another. They're just neutral. So that means like they're kind of like two things that don't attract or repel one another. They have some underlying principles, but they're different in nature in applying those principles. They're both law. One expounds and spreads and teaches the law. The other one applies it and makes sure it's lived. Right. So when you understand that, Jupiter's like, hey, I'm going to spread it. But unfortunately, the agency in which I'm spreading it through is going to be of seriousness, of dedication, and of responsibility. Which is not hope, but it does give you some optimism to know that if I apply these principles, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's you see how that works, but then Mars brings the courage and the motive power to make, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I enforce these principles. I'll make sure that I defend with vehemence, right? Standing on what it is I'm supposed to do to get through this period.
Yeah.
Right. That's how the cancellation works. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
All right. Then Jupiter gets some of that motive, that energetic, that vibrant power of Mars, and says, you know what? All right, might not be the way I like it, but I can make lemonade out of lemons.
Indeed.
Right. That's the Nietzsche bomb. Right. So just giving it to you how it is, folks, is how it works.
Indeed.
Right. So nonetheless, really, folks, I mean, where we're headed in the next few years is just buckle in, stay with your family. It's going to teach you some different values in the sense that, yeah, you were out going to the movies and doing all that. Now it's going to teach you to really get into family, get into each other, get into what's important to one another, what makes things tick, right? When everything's down, what really counts? Right. And so that's what I admonish everyone to do is stop thinking about the petty stuff, y'all. The stuff, we got other things to deal with now. The petty differences between us of who's right and who's wrong, it really doesn't boil down to much. If you can help each other, help your family members, help your friend, help each other bond and build through this, then that's what's most important. And that's what Saturn teaches you is the fundamentals of life. What's valuable truly that makes it worth living, not the superfluous things that we deal with, but what's truth. Who really has your back.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get through this, folks. All right, Jupiter will move into what's called Kumbh Mela, which is when all the gurus meet. In Aquarius, Jupiter will be in Aquarius, right, the next year, right? That's a blessing because Jupiter is almost akin to exaltation in Aquarius. Most folks don't know that, right? So that's a definite blessing, right? That will open up a lot of things for us. In fact, technology you're going to see in the next about 4 or 5 years, technology is going to boom again from this event.
Oh, yeah.
right? Just because I can see that Jupiter is the expansion of things, and Aquarius is what? Technology. And this happens, right, every time Jupiter has a trine or an influence within the Aquarian energy, right? So, right, just this is the forecast, folks. It's going to get better. Right? Saturn will move into Aquarius as well within the next 2 to 3 years, and this will then move the energy out of the sense of dealing with the struggling aspect, but more than in the sense of us coming together for real, right? And then building real infrastructure and networks so that whatever comes our way next time, we'll be better prepared. So this is all for the divine plan to really strengthen us. We will get through this, no problem, y'all. But it is going to be rough times for the next few years, so just prepare yourselves.
Indeed. So, yeah, don't panic, just get smart and, tighten up and just get real serious about, what's happening the next time. And hopefully, you got all our listeners out there, you take heed to this and able to really be able to weather the storm, pretty well, because now you know what's coming ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to break it down to you this simple, but when you have Pluto transiting the second house, it just really causes an emphasis on survival at all costs.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to be self-reliant, self-sufficient. When you live beyond your means, you will receive a shock. Don't think that you won't. Know that you will. That's the Jupiter giving you the knowledge of hard times and how to deal with it. Right? This nation, because Pluto was in the second house, is born into difficult financial situations. Oppression itself is Pluto in a very clear, concise sense. And this country was founded on slavery, folks. So when Pluto comes to full terms of that realization and say, after 248 years, now let's see where your real foundation is.
Yeah.
Let's see if you really built something. Or if your money is fiat. Right? I'm just saying, like, Pluto is like, I'm Saturn on crack. Right? Saturn will slow you down. I will flip you inside out is what Pluto will do. So that's what it's doing. Right? This country was founded on stuff that wasn't right.
Yeah.
So it just has to reset. Right? And that's what we're going to experience. Right? And don't let your material needs, folks, to become a bottomless pit. Don't let your desires overwhelm you and take you into a space and time where now you're going to have to go without. That's the wisdom of Pluto moving through this second house.
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
So with that, folks, I bid adieu. My person's gonna get back on this health regimen so I can get right and get my voice right. So we back on track. But I love y'all. We appreciate y'all, and we got some more announcements here, I'm sure, coming up.
Indeed. As always, I just want to remind you all that this episode was brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group and Calipurusha Astrology. And make sure that you follow us on Instagram, at Cosmic COSMIC Convo CONV as in Victor O. Follow us on Instagram, and you can find us on Facebook the same way, Cosmic Convo. And hit us up, give us your feedback. And with that being said, I give a couple more details on the Patreon. Like I said, we got more opportunities for you all to, be a part of the show. And, if you got businesses, different things that you're doing, you know, you can get your business, get everything shout out on the show for a very, very small cost. I'm not going to spread the details on here, but you know, on our Instagram and on our Facebook, you'll have a link to our Patreon account. And basically we got 4 tiers, very reasonable. And for each tier is, essentially the more involvement you can get, with this show, up to even being an actual guest on the show and being able to imagine you sitting here and us having this conversation right now, being able to ask that question that you want to ask right now on the show with us. So I definitely think that's a good opportunity. And like I said, this is great information. We're not just over here talking about nonsense. This is, for some people, you hearing this and you watching the news and then you hearing what we're talking about. This could really save your finances, save your family. Just having that heads up like that. So, we definitely want to keep this thing going and stuff like that. So when you go to our Instagram and on our Facebook and in the link tree, it's the first one up there, our Patreon. We got 4 different levels. Go ahead and tap in to whichever one, fits your situation. And we won't let you down. We'll definitely make sure it's well worth, your money. All right. So, and like I said, we appreciate all the support we've already gotten, everything like that. And we want to take this show to the next level and be able to get this information to more people. Got anything to add on that, Brother Ra?
Just love one another, y'all. The key thing is, unconditional love. And I know it's not easy. Just love each other. You never know, who's going to be next to you that could help you, or who's the next person that you can help. Just take care of one another, love one another, be good to one another, treat each other as family, and, a dark hour, right, will produce a brighter light on the other side. So, stay up, and we'll get at y'all next week.
Absolutely. All right. So, again, we'll be here next week with another great episode for everyone out there. And we appreciate all your listens and everything like that. And be safe. Be safe and prepare. Indeed. All right. Till next time. Peace.
Peace.